I do think that like divine feminine energy and traditional femininity has some overlap, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive. They can kind of, they can exist together. But I think sometimes we get into dangerous territory with some of this dark femininity stuff, and we're just moving into just being bad people, just not being great people. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Felicia and this is The Feminine Fancy. I know I told you guys that I would have a video out by Wednesday, which is today. Unfortunately, my plans did not happen the way that I thought they were going to, so I'm sorry, but I hope that the content of this video makes up for it being a little bit late. I want to talk about this topic of authentic femininity and the sort of subtle art of authentic femininity. We touched on this a bit in my video back in June, and then over on Patreon we also discussed it a little bit more at length. The question that I was posing is like, I'm on the social media, okay? I'm not just a creator, I also take in content. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram. As much as I would love to be like, I don't do any of it, I do it all. And I've been noticing, and this is what I brought up over on Patreon, I've been noticing a shift away from traditional femininity and into divine feminine energy, dark femininity, and all of those sorts of things. If you guys know what I'm talking about, comment down below, because I feel like it can't just be me. It can't just be my For You page. But I've been noticing this shift, and I brought it up on Patreon, and my patrons had some really insightful things to say, and I want to quote some of them later in the video. But this shift, I don't know if it's necessarily been a super positive one. The focus has changed from being kind and warm and welcoming and gentle and, all of these really nice characteristics to kind of being like manipulative and being like the perfect woman. My version of femininity always has to do with being authentic to yourself and honoring the things that make you you, the things that make you fun and quirky. That for me is the gateway towards really tapping into and being able to be your most feminine self, because you're being honest with yourself. Whereas I feel like a lot of the content these days really kind of pushes this messaging of like, if you eat this, if you do this workout, if you wear this workout set, if you drink this drink, then you will be the best version of yourself. When really, I think we already have everything that we need in us to know what the best version of ourselves is and who she is, because we know, like deep down, we know at our core what is authentic to us, what makes sense to us. I also talked about this in my, what's it called? Some video that I did last year. It was kind of a take on the That Girl video. I think I didn't call it That Feminine Girl. I don't remember. But I talked about how like I don't resonate with a lot of what the girls who, and it's not to say that those things are bad, but I don't resonate with a lot of the things that those girls are saying you should do, right? Like wake up, drink ice water, or drink, a green juice and then go work out at 6 a.m. Like that is not the best way for me to operate. Like I have to have tea in the morning. I have to have something warm to get my body going. I don't like to wake up earlier than I need to. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not sleeping until noon, but I'm not gonna force myself to like wake up if my body needs more rest. Like, I just know that being authentic to myself is the way that I'm able to show up and be the most feminine version of myself. And that's what I've always, said to you guys, is when you're authentic, that's when you're able to really embrace your individual and unique femininity. Lately here on TikTok, I've been seeing a lot about like dark feminine energy. I've been seeing a lot about how to, like get a man, but in a way that is quite manipulative. And I saw a really good video about this. I forgot the creator's name and I didn't write it down, but I saw a really good video about this. Okay, so her name is Anna Akana, and she made a video recently called The Rise of Emotional Manipulation as Dark Femininity, and it was really, really spot on. But I've been seeing, like I said, this transition or like this move from the sort of traditional, and I hate to use this word, but cottagecore, like that version of what femininity is, into this now like anti-man, anti-healthy relationship version of femininity. And I worry for you guys. I do think that like divine feminine energy and traditional femininity has some overlap, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive. They can kind of, they can exist together. But I think sometimes we get into dangerous territory with some of this dark femininity stuff, and we're just moving into just being bad people. just not being great people. So as I mentioned, we talked about this over on Patreon, and I want to just shout out a couple of my patrons who had some really insightful things to say. My patron Veronica said, I think when times are uncertain and scary, example, due to a pandemic or war, many women tend towards traditional roles because they find security in them. They think they will feel safe and happy when they take care of simpler things like a household and look for a relationship because they are afraid to be alone/die without having procreated. So I thought that comment was very, very insightful because it really is true. Like during the pandemic was the height in popularity of the cottagecore sort of vibe movement. This is the time when creators like Ballerina Farm got really popular, and then we all later found out that she's like richer than all of us. Like her content got really popular around that time, and it was just very simple and very homey, and it felt very Little House on the Prairie, and like all of that stuff was really popular during the pandemic, or during quarantine, I'll say. And I think that Veronica is absolutely right. Like during times of uncertainty, I think that we tend to lean more towards those traditional ways of living because we start to remember what's important. We start to realize like what matters to me is home, is family, is raising kids, is getting married. Like we start to really think about what is important because the threat of death and like the veil is lifted on the truth of our mortality and the fact that we're not going to be here forever. So I thought that was really, really interesting and a very insightful point because it's very true. And the height of the pandemic and quarantine really did bring up and bring out the rise in the desire for a traditional life and traditional femininity. Now that we're not in quarantine anymore and the news isn't really covering COVID anymore and kind of making it seem like it's gone away when it absolutely has not, now the focus has shifted back towards being more self-focused and more individualistic. Another patron named Candace said, hey girly, this is a really great question and I'm thinking a few things. First of all, I think a lot of people associate traditional femininity with Christian values, and due to a lot of really negatively skewed media messaging about the same, I think a lot of people are growing a general disdain or skepticism and critical eye for anything Christianity. So I think many women hear traditional woman and subconsciously associate it with other things they might not be too fond of, like the church or submitting to a man or being a sort of servant in your house, etc. Speaking of submission, one thing I was thinking about too is that I think traditional femininity does require a level of submission in order to fully enjoy and embrace it. By submission, I don't mean submission to a man per se. I more mean submission to the life you've been given and being willing to make your life as peaceful and beautiful as possible within the means allotted to you. I think that concept is quite beautiful. However, I think the new femininity content taps into humans' desire to control their lives and fate. It offers people a bit of a godlike role where they could twist their fates and make whatever they want to happen, happen. It's less about receiving life and submitting to the grander scheme of things and making things beautiful, and more about taking charge of things, manipulating the universe to serve you, etc. Of course, with the non-traditional content will come the notions of not needing any man, etc., because partnership requires a level of submission from both parties in order to be in it. It requires both people receiving each other and sort of submitting to each other's humanhood in order to create something beautiful together. Someone who wants to dominate and control their own lives and fate would genuinely struggle in that dynamic because a partner would significantly disrupt their desire to control and make their lives exactly like they wanted. Manifesting and being that girl, etc., makes people feel strong and powerful. But honestly, I find it an empty, unsubstantial power. People have lost the value of being empowered through connection, submission to living in community, and living within our means. Wow. I was stunned when I read that comment because, again, so true, full of so much truth. A lot of us do struggle with submission, and not necessarily submission to a man, but submission to creating the most beautiful life we can with what we've been given. And instead, the manifesting that girl energy, that woman, becoming the best woman, becoming the dream woman, all of that stuff, it lends itself more into this need and this desire to have more, and never be satisfied with what you have. It's not to say that that you can't have goals and you can't have dreams, and you can't have goals and dreams for yourself and how you want to feel. But it is very interesting how this new version of femininity, divine feminine energy, is really coming off as wanting everything for yourself and leaving not much else for other people. It's all about how you can get everything you want. Be the girl who has the perfect body, the perfect boyfriend, the perfect house, and all of that. So I say all of that to say that for me, that is not authentic femininity. That is insecurity masked as femininity. In my opinion, authentic feminine women do not need to be the center of attention if they don't want to be. If you want to be, go for it. But they don't need to be the center of attention. They don't need to have the best this, the biggest this, the most recent of everything. Their femininity shines through just in how they interact with people, in how they are able to connect with people and share stories and life experiences and be a warm, welcoming landing place for people, to be a safe space for people. Which brings me to my first point about authentic femininity, and that is that it is not self-focused. A lot of this divine feminine energy content is self-focused. It's all about you. And in my humble opinion, authentic femininity is not self-focused. Now, don't misunderstand me. This doesn't mean that you can't enjoy pouring into yourself. I'm a very big proponent of that. You can enjoy a spa day. You can enjoy a bubble bath. You can go to the gym. You can do all of those things that fill up your own cup, 100%. But it doesn't make everything about you. Not everything is about you. Not everything is about me. Some things are about other people. Some things are about the struggles and the experiences that other people are going through, and having that empathy for others, not only having the empathy, but actually doing things to help out your community, to improve your community, to help out the people who are struggling, who are in need. That is where your authentic femininity comes into play. So it's not about, denying yourself and not looking, it's not about like not getting your hair done or not getting your nails done or anything like that. But authentic femininity is not inherently self-focused, it is community focused. And it's focused on how can you as a woman show up for yourself and for your community, whether that is your family, your friends, your neighbors. Like, how can you be a light to the people in your circle, in your world, instead of just focusing on how to get everyone else to notice you. Authentic femininity also doesn't manipulate, okay? Again, if I have to see one more TikTok about how to get a man to do X, Y, and Z thing, and with all of these very manipulative tactics, I'm gonna go insane. Authentic femininity does not manipulate, she communicates. So it's okay to have standards, okay? I send my husband the sprinkle TikToks every single day because we both just find it absolutely hilarious. Like, that lady, Sheree, if you're watching this, Sheree, you are a national treasure. As I've said in videos before, it is okay to have standards. It's not okay to manipulate people, and it's not okay to be mean to people when you are expressing those standards. Authentic femininity does not manipulate men, she communicates. She is a genuine, a truthful, and authentic communicator. It doesn't mean that you don't say what you want. It doesn't mean that you don't say how you feel. It doesn't mean that you are, that you just allow yourself to get walked all over. It means that you have the wisdom and the maturity to communicate effectively whatever it is that you're feeling, whatever it is that you want to talk about, you are willing to have the conversation. In addition to insecurity, I think that a lot of this content also comes from immaturity. Having that feeling and that desire to hurt men the way that they've hurt you. And this is something that Anna touched on in her video. But as she mentioned in that video as well, you don't want a relationship where you have manipulated someone or tricked someone into being in that relationship with you. If you have to go through all of the rigmarole of not texting him at these certain times or I don't know if it was in her video, if I saw it somewhere else, but someone else said text the guy that you're interested in and just say I'm here with no context, and then when he responds and is confused, just say like, oh, what, sorry, that was for someone else. Like, If you have to go to those lengths to convince a man to be with you, you don't want that man. Trust me, you don't want that man, because you should not have to convince anyone that they should want to be with you. So authentic femininity does not manipulate, because at the end of the day, even if you do manipulate and you do end up getting the guy at the end, it's not gonna work out in your favor. You will likely end up in a relationship with a man who is bitter because he didn't want to be there in the first place, and that is not great for feeling like you are truly in touch with your femininity or your divine feminine energy. Authentic femininity is also non-judgmental. I hope in this video I'm not coming off as judgmental. I actually just had that thought. I hope I'm not coming off as judgmental, because I really do want to say that, like, I understand the desire to want to be, you know, the best version of yourself, the most beautiful version, the most beautiful woman in the room. Like, I understand the desire to, you know, want to get everything that you want, the house, the car, the this, the boyfriend, all of it. I understand that. So I hope I'm not coming off judgmental, because I do get it. It's just that I'm genuinely worried, because I don't want young women to be led astray in this content. And I also am a really big proponent of, like, community and building your community outside of just your own nuclear family, outside of just what you as an individual want. I see all of this content and the popularity with which, you know, it has gained. To me, it's feeling very, we're heading into a territory of everyone just continuing to only care about themselves, and I don't want that. I hope I'm not coming off as judgmental. It's just this content, it really pushes this idea of me, how can I do this? How can I get this? And I want us all to have the things that we want, but I also want us to be there for our fellow brothers and sisters and just whatever. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. But all of that to say that authentic femininity is also not judgmental, meaning that she doesn't judge another woman for what that woman chooses to do with her life. On the traditional side of femininity, I actually see a lot of judgment. I see a lot of people proclaiming that they know the ultimate way to live. They know exactly what you should be doing as a woman. I want us to steer away from being judgmental and from looking at other people's lives with a judging eye. Instead, I want us to look at other women's lives and think, how can I support her? How can I maybe help her get out of a bad situation? How can I be a safe space for her so that she feels comfortable and confident enough to come talk to me about whatever it is that she's going through? That is authentic femininity. It is not sitting on your high horse and judging everyone else for what they're choosing to do with their life. It's about creating a safe space, being that safe space, being that warm environment where other people can come to you and say, I need help, or can you help me with this, or what do you think about this? And finally, I think authentic femininity embraces a sense of childlike awe and wonder. Another video topic that I've been seeing circulating a lot lately is the how to go from that girl to that woman. And it's very interesting, and I think this is probably geared towards a younger audience, because I do think that a lot of, you know, women who are probably like, or young women who are probably like 18, 19, 20 are in that phase of wanting to feel more mature, wanting to feel maybe even like sexier, like wanting to mature into a grown woman. And while I think that it is absolutely necessary to mature in your femininity as a woman, and that transition from girl to woman is tricky, and I understand that, so I get the need for these videos as well. However, I do think that authentic femininity embraces a sense of childlike awe and wonder. You don't want to go so far into being a grown woman that you don't know how to have fun, like good wholesome fun, or that you don't know how to, you know, look at something and really be in awe of it and really have a sense of wonder and whimsy in your life. It's okay to let your hair down every now and again. Like, it's okay. You don't have to be this woman who has it all figured out and knows exactly what she's doing and exactly where she's going, and, you know, she doesn't have time for this person, she doesn't have time for that person. Like, you don't have to be that grown woman, so much so that you lose your sense of gentleness, you lose your sense of childlike awe and wonder, and you can no longer even like enjoy life and enjoy the little things in life that would make the young version of you really happy and really excited. Like, you can still enjoy those things that you enjoyed when you were younger while being a grown and mature woman. This video is super long. I'm gonna have to edit this down a lot. That is it. That's all I have to say. I think that, you know, we are seeing a shift from the desire for traditional femininity into this desire for divine feminine energy. And I understand why the shift is happening, and I understand why it's there, but I want us to all be very cognizant and aware and careful about the kind of content that we're taking in, and if it is hyper individual focused or if it's community focused. I think that beautiful things happen when we show up in our community as the most authentic version of ourselves. Not necessarily the dream version of ourselves, not necessarily the best version of ourselves, but the most authentic version of ourselves. And again, it's okay to have dreams for yourself and for your life. It's also okay to remember and embrace the little things that are really important as well. All right, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you to my patrons for essentially sponsoring this video and all of my other ones. You guys are, I love you so, so much. If you want to become a patron, click the link down below. I make a lot of content over there as well. A lot of stuff over there. So if you're interested, I will leave the link to my Patreon down below. I love you guys so much. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. You can find me on Instagram at _thefemininefancy_ and on my blog at thefemininefancy.com. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.